Change of plans. On this Thursday installment of Locked On Texans, we will tell you why Kamari Lassiter and Kenyon Green took center stage during day 2 of mandatory minicamp.
Boom!
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody, to this Thursday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your Texans football analyst, John Some Sports Guy Hickman. On the other side of the screen, Texans Credential Media member, Sports Illustrated's own Cody Davis. Thank you to all of our first-time watchers and listeners. Please subscribe on YouTube, like and comment as well. Also, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, follow on Twitter /X at Locked On Texans. We got a lot to talk about today. I think the biggest would be just an update on Kenyon Green. But Cody, before we dive into the show, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Green shines, YouTube comments. Kamari Lassiter shines in day 2 of mandatory minicamp. This has been a competitive OTAs, whether they've been out there for involuntary or voluntary or mandatory, or however you want to look at it. They've been competitive. We've seen Houston kind of give guys early chances to, okay, he's a starter. He's going to be, we're going to give you a chance to run with the number ones, or how can you elevate yourself from running with the twos? They've been competitive, but I think one of the bright spots of it all, it's always good we can get some good competition, is just seeing the number 42 overall pick go out there and play some good football at the cornerback position, and that's Kamari Lassiter.
After being out there at NRG Stadium over the last 2 days, John, listeners and viewers, I came away thinking to myself, Kamari Lassiter is him. Plain and simple. And I think that is the best way to describe it, because look, first and foremost, man, when you take a look at what he was able to do on Thursday at mandatory minicamp, man, that young man put on the show. Look, everyone saw the phenomenal pass breakup that he recorded against Stephon Diggs, who in that pass attempt came, of course, by CJ Stroud. But John, I don't think too many people have came to the realization that this is a rookie cornerback. Yes, I understand that play came doing on 7-on-7. Yes, I understand that this is what was mandatory minicamp. And yes, I understand more importantly that the Houston Texans at this stage of their practices, they have yet to get physical. So I look at it from a standpoint, I don't think, especially this early in their career, this early while they're still trying to get adjusted to the playbook, while they still getting adjusted to the speed of the NFL, I don't think there are too many rookie cornerbacks to say, you know what, at mandatory minicamp in the early stages of my career, I had an opportunity to get a really good defensive stop on an all-pro caliber wide receiver. And not only did he have an opportunity to do so, John, listeners and viewers, you know without a shadow of a doubt, that play right there is basically going to do wonders for not only his development, but his confidence as well. But that was only one of 2 pass breakups that Kamari Lassiter had during the team scrimmages. And to understand how great Kamari Lassiter was during yesterday's practice, the young man walked away with the Houston Texans team award for Swarm Player of the Day.
What I've seen from Kamari is I've seen a guy who's been locked in from day one since he's gotten here. He's been locked in. He's done everything we've asked him to do. Kamari's a guy who doesn't make the same mistake twice, right? He's very competitive. He's making plays, like instinctive player, and I think a lot of guys are fired up to see what he's been able to do over the past couple weeks. So excited to see how he's trending, right? He's trending in the right direction. Excited to see, how he comes back and where he starts in training camp.
I know yesterday I came on this show and said that if I had to pick a starter to someone to start opposite of Derek Stingley Jr. come week 1 of the regular season. I would say that CJ Henderson is in the lead. By the way, I do want to give a special shout out to Jarrell Scott 5203. I know we're going to get into YouTube comments later on today, but I want to give him a special shout out because he was the one that I was referring to on yesterday who told us in the comments, y'all are hyping up Jeff Okudah way too much for his liking. So, knowing that, and also just looking at how the way CJ Henderson has performed during OTAs and mandatory minicamp, look, like I just mentioned, I think he has the lead for CB number 2 for this organization. However, if Henderson is 1A, Kamari Lassiter is 2B. Over the last 2 practices, Kamari Lassiter has recorded 3 pass breakups, one of which came against John Mechie. You guys saw the video. John Mechie has looked phenomenal throughout this whole entire mandatory minicamp. He put Derek Stingley Jr. in a blender, not once but twice. Not once but twice. So next week we're going to highlight that. But John, just looking at the improvements, looking at the development of Kamari Lassiter so far between rookie minicamp, OTAs, and mandatory minicamp, man, this young man is special. At first, I would say I would have been shocked. I would have been surprised. But at this stage, man, he definitely has a realistic chance.
PFF ranked Derek Stingley the number 27th overall cornerback in the NFL. Since we're talking about cornerbacks, I just wanted to put that out there. Mina Combs, in somewhat of a response while talking about Derek Stingley, let everybody know that Sting led all cornerbacks in the NFL in next gen rate, ball hawk rate, with track whether a defender makes a play on the ball. He led all cornerbacks, and we know that he ended the season off with 5 interceptions. 27
27
on PFF's list was 27th.
Oh, wow.
And his classmate, they'll always be tied together, Sauce Gardner, was number 1. I don't think there is 25 cornerbacks better than Derek Stingley. But to get back to Lassiter, I mean, when you watch this tape coming out of college, none of this is shocking, right? The one game that I could think of that comes to my mind, Xavier Legette, right? He's in Carolina now. He was widely, considered one of the top receivers in the NFL draft this past April. I think he had 17 yards on Kamari Lassiter.
And that's something Coach Fran Brown highlighted when I had an opportunity to talk to him last week.
Right. And with Lassiter, guys were really scared away from him because of the quote-unquote 40 time. And guys were really trying to find ways once Houston drafted him. Should he be inside? Should he be outside? Should he be back at safety? What should Houston do with him? Obviously, there was talent there, but a lot of people didn't know because they feel like the need for speed is important for cornerback. And he just plays with great anticipation, guys. He plays with great recognition, route recognition as a cornerback, great anticipation. He's going to be all right. He's going to be more than all right. To hear that he won Sworn Player of the Day, and it's not like this is the Houston Texans of old, where you may have to just worry about Brandon Cooks and the rest of the receivers are not there yet. And you also didn't have the quarterback to allow those receivers to get to the space that they want to be, i.e. Nico Collins playing with C.J. Stroud in year 1, right? No, he's playing against Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico, Dalton Schultz, and he's made plays on these guys. He's made plays against an offense that was led by C.J. Stroud. He's going to be all right. He's going to be more than all right. I do think that the speed of the game and the tempo of the game will be one of his many roadblocks. Not many as in M-A-N-Y. It's going to be a mini roadblock for him. I can see Houston maybe going the route, and this is too early prediction, of course, while we're in June, maybe still starting a vet opposite side of Derek Stingley. Maybe CJ, who you said is leading the pack right now. But it wouldn't shock me if we're looking up at week 5, 6, or 7. We're seeing Kamari and his snaps per game increasing. And we're seeing him maybe take over. He's going to be a good cornerback in the NFL. And if you have not seen that clip online, the Houston Texans page has posted it. You can go watch it, the pass breakup on Stephon Diggs. If you look closely, I'm glad they just was in T-shirts. It looked like he wanted to give Stephon a little extra. Not nothing personal, but the physicality he brings to this team, which I want to highlight, is just naturally there. Like he kind of wanted to, tackle him a little bit. And he could do that once the play's made on the ball. And I think that's what this team is going to love about him the most. He is going to be physical with whoever you line up above him, over him. And he's going to knock receivers' rhythm off because of that. And once you see the full package of that young man, being able to bring his IQ, his intelligence, and match that with the physicality of the game, Houston may have a problem at cornerback, and it's a problem that they've been searching for a very long time. 2 very good cornerbacks on the field at one time. That's what this team needs. And then, of course, the front 4, they're going to make their job a whole lot easier. We should see Houston get more pass breakups and interceptions this year. And I can't wait to talk about Kenyon Green. Changed his number in the offseason. He's not 59 no more. What is it, 76 now?
Mm-hmm.
Changed his number, new identity, new Kenyon Green. Who this? He shines on day 2. Let's talk about it. Before we talk about Kenyon Green, I want to let you guys know that this next segment is brought to you by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get things off of our chest, whether it's big like bills or small like road rage and traffic jams. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let those things out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, let's say how we really feel about something. Cody, if you don't mind, I would like to say that these grocery prices are extremely disrespectful. And sometimes I feel like freeway on what we do. If everything ain't going the way it needs to go, I may have to, black mask it or something like that. Just joking, of course, but the cost of eggs is ridiculous. But you know what? The real problem is we got bigger problems than our favorite sports team. Therapy can be different for everyone, and it's important to get those things off of your chest every once in a while. So it don't got to be about the Texans. It ain't got to be about the Rockets. It can be about something that's really impacted our lives and a hump we really want to get over. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suitable to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
I don't know if you had an opportunity to do so yet, but have you had an opportunity to match up against Kenyon Green? And if so, what are some of the things that experience was like?
I went against Kenyon in high school. I mean, not in high school, in college, when he played tackle, and it was kind of different than he played guard. I haven't really went against Kenyon and while he played guard, just a little bit on stunts and stuff like that. But I can say about Kenyon, like, he's been really good this offseason, man. He's been taking care of his body, rehabbing, doing everything the right way, showing up, and just trying to get better. And I got a chance to just keep watching him try to improve, man. And it's been, it's been great to see. So I'm really excited for him, man. He has big things coming from, from himself and for the team. And I'm just excited to see him go.
Those were some very encouraging words from Will Anderson Jr., 2 SEC guys. I'm sure they met plenty of times. It's good to hear that Kenyon Green is getting back to a place where he can be that number 1 pick. The guy that Houston thought that they were going to get 2 seasons ago, he could be that now for Houston.
And that's been one of the most encouraging parts of looking at the Texans, watching the Texans throughout OTAs and mandatory minicamp, was just looking at his transformation. Because, John, look, you know how it is. When you go to the Houston Texans practice, it's very hard for you to literally lock in and engage on the offensive line and the defensive line. And for those of you guys who've never been to the Texans practice facility, they have 2 practice fields that they play on, and the D line and the offensive line will go into the very far back of the corner, and we cannot see them. And the only time we can actually have an opportunity to see them go through their individual drills, their position drills, and even some of the team drills is when
let me say this: they always putting us in the back, man.
They
always putting us in the. Y'all go over there somewhere. And because at the vicinity,
oh my goodness,
you can see the receivers, you can see Divas,
you can see CJ, you can see CJ,
right? You can see the corners, but y'all big boys, y'all not aesthetically pleasing. Can y'all go somewhere and come back when we?
Exactly. And the reason why I wanted to share that story is because look, yesterday at the start of practice, man, of course it got dark. It was another rainy, stormy mini hurricane day in the city of Houston. So instead of being outside, we went inside the bubble. And when we went inside the bubble, I finally had an opportunity to literally get a good look at the D line and the offensive line. Look, first and foremost, when you talk about that D line, you have nothing to worry about. I got scared looking at Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. coming off the edge. If it scared me, I can't imagine what it's going to do to the opponents. But John, I finally had an opportunity to see the offensive line, and of course, I locked my eyes on Kenyon Green. And when I tell you, this young man has looked completely different from the Kenyon Green that we saw through the first 2 years, especially during his rookie season, man, it's phenomenal. And I truly do believe that he's definitely going to be the definition of the Houston Texans comeback player of the year in 2024. We already talked about the way he transitioned his body. We already talked about the way he got himself in shape. As I told you on the very opening day of OTAs, there's no more jokes about the baby fat, but I had an opportunity to see his skill set. During the position drills, he looked explosive getting off a line of scrimmage. He looked fast. He looked strong. During the team scrimmage, 11-on-11 play, I had an opportunity to watch him hold his own against veteran defensive lineman Mario Edwards, man, on not one, not two, but on 3 separate occasions. And I look at that from a standpoint, if he has an opportunity to do that now, Kenyon Green is definitely going to be something special for the Houston Texans in this upcoming season.
Yeah, with Kenyon, what I've seen is, man, first off, credit to him for the work that he's done. He's changed his body. He's looking good, looking lean. He's able to move better, and I see a more athletic guy. I see a guy who's actually been able to stay on the field, and that's been the main thing I think for Kenyon. Important year for him is just availability, just being out there, and now the ball is the ball. He'll continue to improve and get better in those regards, but for him, the main thing is just him being healthy and being on the field, giving himself a chance to compete. And the work that he's done over the offseason, like he's giving himself that chance. Now he can continue to build off of that, come back in camp, ready to roll.
Same lines, what can you share about, the conversations that you had with Kenyon? Because even though he was going through his, adversity last year, you guys was always talking about how he was always in the building and how he was always staying motivated.
Yeah, so, seeing Kenyon around the building, some guys, when they get injured, it's easy to just kind of lose sight of what's going on. But he was still around with the meetings. And just always, when I see him, just always try to encourage him like I do all players. I think we all need that encouragement, especially when you're on IR. It gets lonely at times. It's a difficult time when you're going through an injury. Everybody else is going out to practice, and you're going home. It's a tough spot to be in. But he's been encouraged through it all, seeing a smile on his face. He was, for me, he always said, man, Coach, I'm ready to get back out there. It looks like it's fun out there. I'm excited to go play again. So seeing that fervor in his eyes, I'm excited to see him go compete.
I know we spent a lot of time talking about Kenyon Green, throughout this whole entire offseason. But, John, the one thing for me is just knowing that this young man is going to get back to the player that we saw at Texas A&M. And it's important because, look, we understand what this young man, the potential that this young man could definitely have in a rushing attack, of course, his pass protection. But for me personally, just from a standpoint of the Kenyon Green that I had an opportunity to start getting to know during his rookie season, I'm just happy for him on a personal level, man, plain and simple. And I cannot wait until training camp because, look, throughout this whole entire show, in the first segment, we talked about Kamari Lassiter. In this segment, we highlighting Kenyon Green. Those are going to be 2 favorites that a lot of people are going to be talking about, rather reporters, rather fans, that they're going to be talking about throughout this whole entire training camp period. And like I mentioned, I think the 2024 season is going to be a special year for both of them, but training camp is definitely going to be a major point of emphasis in terms of their development, because now you have an opportunity to see what they really look like once things get physical. But as of right now, especially for Kenyon Green, everything looked promising for that young man.
I'm just glad that they still have faith in him.
I know, right? That's a big one.
I'm glad that they still have faith in him. I'm glad they, have been a part of the process to get him back to a place, as Coach said, where he wants to be on the football field and play ball. And I think this year could be special because we know Houston brought over Joe Mixon. You can make a case that this is probably going to be Joe Mixon's best offensive line he's played with in the NFL, or at least in a while. If Kenyon Green figures it out, you're looking at a team that could open their playbook if they can run that ball. Right? We saw last year, I think, the limitations on the offense because it was so much just dictated and decided by C.J. Stroud when they won games, because it was clear that they could not run the ball. It was clear the best way that they had a chance to win games was through the arm and IQ of C.J. Stroud. But that takes away a different element of your offense if you're forced to have to go out there and throw the ball to win games. If Green can figure it out and Mix can run behind him, then we're looking at this team being able to really, really hurt teams, because now we can win on multiple levels, in multiple ways, offensively. So I'm glad that they never lost faith in that young man. And I think he is probably one of the more anticipated comeback players for this franchise. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets, Astros tickets, or preparing yourself to get Texans tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to game time. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Listen, you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, theater events near you. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on selected seats ahead of the game or event. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Before we close out today's show, we're going to dive into the YouTube comment. And Cody, this one is for you. Cody Davis, thank you for asking great questions. And this was in response to the Stephon Diggs question that you asked yesterday. Mm-hmm. And that response was amazing. I just want to say the viewers see it, I see it, everybody sees it. You are killing it right now. So this is from Real Thoughts 6952. He also says, my favorite thing that John does is give the stats in his point of view, and he stands on it. But none of this is possible without getting those clips or talking with these players behind the scenes. So thank you, Cody.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. Made me shout thug too.
All right. Let's get past that. All right. Scott Matthews, 3994 question. With all the guns the Houston Texans have on the offense, what defense in the NFL has a chance of beating the Houston Texans?
As of right now, nobody. Like I said earlier this week, and John, I'm going to stand 10 toes down. I think the Houston Texans, even if they struggle during the early part of the 2024 campaign, because still going to be some learning periods and stuff. But I do believe that midway through the season, we're going to be looking at the best offensive team in the league. You got the quarterback who is basically top 5. You got the running back. We literally just finished highlighting Kenyon Green at left guard, which was your only concern on that offensive line. And you already have the weapons on with your wide receiving core. And then look, you have a solid tight end crew headlined by Dalton Schultz. John, I honestly do not think there is going to be a defense that can stop this team. Once again, last Thursday, when I saw CJ take the field with Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz in the backfield, you had Nico and Stephon lined up out wide with Tank Dell in the slot. It was a feeling that I've never gotten with this organization, man. Well, let you know something special is brewing here in the city of Houston. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had to take it that far, but John, I'm standing 10 toes down on it.
So these next comments are really all heat for you. So get ready. This is Mellow Mike 4012. This discussion is ludicrous. And we got to talking about Hurts and CJ Stroud. And that came out of nowhere because we wasn't even planning on talking about Jalen Hurts. I can't even remember how Jalen Hurts came up in the show, but he said Hurts was rising, Steichen exits, and Gannon and the Eagles crumble. System QB, Hurts does majority of his work off RPOs. Operating from the pocket, very few can compare to CJ. That's one comment. Also, with Jalen, an MVP candidate his rookie year, did he win Rookie of the Year? That's one comment. Easily Stroud over Hurts. Not even close, Cody. Shaking my head. This is from, and both of these comments are from Master Terrence 4005. Jalen Hurts has one great season in 3 years. The rest were actually pretty meh. Come on, Cody. Easily CJ over Hurts. You know what I like? This is another one. Jalen lost the locker room last year as a quarterback. You have to be a great leader too. CJ's already better in that area. You know what I like? They gonna ride for their quarterback, man.
Man, they should.
If this would have been Sharp, Carr, Davis,
Tyrod,
Jeff Driscoll, Sage Rosenfeld, you wouldn't have got no argument out of Texans fans. But I've seen them ride for 2 quarterbacks in my lifetime, twice while covering them, and I don't think the city is riding harder for CJ. They riding harder for CJ more than they rode for anybody else, man. I wanted to highlight those comments. I know they're coming at you. Thankfully, they're not coming at me. But I love the fact that these fans are not letting nobody play on CJ's head, man. He is potentially one top 5 in the NFL. I did see, I think Nick Wright has him as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So shout out to Nick Wright.
One, I agree with you. That's the one thing that I've loved about reading those comments about people taking up for CJ. Was the fact that, hey, this fan base, man, I'm loving it. But at the same time, John, did I say Jalen Hurts was by far way better than CJ? I said it was close. And once again, I only pick Jalen based off him being an MVP caliber quarterback over the last 2 seasons. That's it. That's all I was basing it off. That's it. I just don't understand. Like, I'm talking about, it is a fraction that close between those 2 quarterbacks, man. That plain and simple. I think there's only 1, maybe 2 quarterbacks that I would have over CJ right now, without a shadow of a doubt, and that's of course Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. But like I said during that original statement, no. Like I said during that original, I got the receipts to prove it. We this is the 3rd week in a row we didn't talk about this foolishness. Those are the 2 quarterbacks that I officially have over CJ as of right now. But like I mentioned during that original comment, when we talked about it last week, and we're revisiting this topic again, it won't be long, in my opinion, before CJ is undoubtedly the best quarterback in the league. He's already a really great player. He's developing, and that's going to get even scarier. The Texans have done a really good job putting him in a really good situation, unlike the last quarterback that they rolled this hard for. But everything is working out for CJ to be that guy in the league. Which, by the way, I do want to mention, and maybe I get some brownie points. If we rewind to our first year covering this team, maybe it's crazy to say this now, but I did believe at that time that Deshaun was a hairline fraction than Mahomes. Remember that? So I could get some brownie points, and it was close. But I mean, other factors came in and ruined that.
I got a text from a good friend of mine, John Crumpler, and he texted me, CJ Stroud, 5,000 yards. It's very possible. Happen. Look, very possible.
Look, speaking of Deshaun, you saw what Deshaun was able to do at arguably his best season without, in the worst situation possible. And he finished, what was it, like 46,000 yards?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible.
It's possible.
You think he could put 6?
All right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Please subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans page on YouTube. Follow on Twitter at Locked On Texans. Follow me on Twitter at John_12.
It's somewhat doable. I mean, think about it. You could literally get $3K from your top 3. You could possibly get what? Let's say 6 or 7 from Dalton. So that's already like what? I don't know.
CJ would have to average 353 passing yards per game.
I think it might. He might come close. He might come close.
Right.
How many? 300 and what? 50?
353.
Go back and take a look at some of his best games of last season. Looking at what he was dealing with, I think he was averaging somewhere around that ballpark. So it might be doable. I'm just saying. But as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody COTY DAVIS _24. John, I'm letting you know at the week before the regular season when we give our way too bold prediction, I'm going to revisit this and claim my point as to why he might be able to get 6, man. Just saying. Okay, but until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.
Cody trying to get that exclusive. That's what it is.